Test, test, test. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hoorah, let's get it going. Let's wake up, everybody. Come on in. Wait a couple minutes. Welcome in, everybody. Carol's in the house. Good to have you, Carol. Let me get the charger plugged in. Cords, you gotta love them, man. You gotta love all these cords. Ah. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right. Getting ready to start here. How's it going, Carol? Hope it's going good today. Hope April did all right today. Yesterday, I know they had that storm coming through PA. Hope all is well there for all the PA individuals. They had a bad storm yesterday. Can you hear me okay, Carol? Let me know if you can hear me all right. Hoorah. All right. Awesome. We'll wait a couple minutes. I'm going to talk today about another missing. They got him listed as a scientist with that group. So they got him listed as that. But once we cover him, I want to touch back on another case and go from there. I wonder if anybody got their notice. Did you get a notice saying that we were coming on, Carol, by any chance? There we go. I don't know if you got a notice or not. Because I know somebody was saying yesterday that they didn't get a notice through YouTube. You did. You got a notification. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Whiskey, good morning. Good morning, Whiskey. So I did a little bit of deep dive on that whiskey yesterday. I'm going to cover this case here, and then I'm going to go over to the Nolan case. Once I cover this one, I'm going to jump over to the Nolan case and answer your question on what I think. I was able to watch those videos you recommended. Good to have you, Whiskey. Good to have you, Carol. Come on in, everybody. Let's get it. Let's have that conversation. Welcome to Double Dog _88. Carolina girls in the house. Good to have you. And you got the notification too. Good. Just want to make sure you guys are getting notified. Jim's in the house. Good to have you, Jim. Welcome in, everybody. Smash the likes. You know, all that good stuff. The bigger we become, the more opinions we hear, the more knowledgeable we all become. That's usually how it works. April, good to have you, April. Hope you're doing well after your storm yesterday. Was just asking about you through Carol. Good morning, everybody. And I'm sure many are just getting up, moving around. All right, all right. One more minute and we're going to start, everybody. Yes, we got power late last night. All well. Thank you for asking. No worries. I was worried about it. I was hoping everything would go okay. I really was. And yeah, sometimes them storms, golly, I know, sometimes those storms can be worse than tornadoes, I mean, just the amount of rain and the flooding and all that stuff. It's just crazy. I know Missouri got hit hard and they were flooding. They were all over the news. So this is a plan, everybody. I'm going to talk today about an individual that was missing in, well, for a better lack of words, he was listed as one of the scientists that were missing. And then after that, whenever we get done with that, I'm going to jump over the case I was talking about last night. Just a couple of things that I looked up and watched and found out some things that I think I want to just go ahead and quickly touch on it and see where everybody's at. We are still growing. We're gaining, but we still got to share the stream. We got to share everything out to everybody we know, and when you're on different lives, by all means, do that. Carolina girl, good morning, everyone. All right, everybody, let's just go ahead and start now. When people come in, that's the plan. We're going to talk about this case, and then I'm going to jump over, and I'll let you know when I jump over. So this case here is about a U.S. Air Force intelligence veteran and a Bronze Star recipient. Now, this Bronze Star recipient, when you get a Bronze Star, it's pretty impressive. Okay, because you have your Bronze Star, your Navy Cross, and your Medal of Honor. Okay, so your Bronze Star means you literally did something very heroic that not a lot of people would have done. In other words, you put your ass on the line, and that's not something that a lot of people, we all would like to think we would do that, and I'm sure most of us probably would, especially when you're in the military. But the reality is, it's easier said than done. It's when something happens and you respond and you don't even look and care for your safety. Bronze Star, Navy Cross, Medal of Honor. So this guy has definitely earned the right to go ahead and give his opinions and dues because he's been there. He has sacrificed a lot. So with that, I'm going to talk about Matthew James Sullivan, 1984. He served from 1984 to 2024. He was a U.S. Air Force intelligence. He got the Bronze Star recipient who gained public attention. When he was revealed, he had been preparing to testify before Congress regarding secret government UFO and UAP programs. Now, they was going to be talking about this. Hello, Barney. Good to have you. He was going to go ahead and talk to Congress and explain what he knew about a lot of these cases. And I don't know if you guys caught it this morning in the news, but there was some already more videos that were released about some different anomalies that they were seeing in the sky, and it looked pretty. How can I say, intense? Maybe it's a better lack of word. It was out there. It was out there, and don't know what it was, but they showed it this morning. I believe it was on Good Morning America, and they have released some more videos, and they're going to keep releasing videos. I think they're trying to do it in a methodical way where they're doing it little by little, so that way they don't over induce and pop and get everybody all at once, hitting them with everything. If they go about literally people seeing it, right, little by little, then people get acclimated a lot better. So that's why I think, President Trump has ordered that all files relating to the UAPs, UFOs, all that kind of stuff be released. So they're doing it, but they're doing it very slowly. Might be by design, might be by plan. I don't know, but it makes sense to me. If I was going to do something and introduce information to the people, I would like to go slow, methodically. I'd love to go slow because people are absorbing it and it's getting into their mind rather than just throwing everything at the kitchen sink, right? That'd be like too much information at once. Could be overloaded on people's minds. So when it was revealed he had preparing to testify before Congress. Now, it's getting big when you start getting ready to testify in Congress. When you start getting ready to talk to Congress and you're going to testify under oath, that's a big deal, especially someone who's not just a veteran in the Air Force, but someone who's not just a veteran, but someone who literally has that credibility of being a Bronze Star recipient. I'm telling you, that means, that is a lot. That's a lot of clout. Like I said, it's not as high as the Navy Cross and or the Medal of Honor, but I'm telling you what, hey, people literally know what the Bronze Star is. So here's a little bit about Matthews, and I'm just going to call him Matthews I don't want to get into the all this stuff, but I'm just going to call him Matthew, but it's Matthew James Sullivan or Sully. I'll just call him Sully. So he's got a military intelligence background. Sully was an Air Force intelligence officer. Intelligence. That's where you gather all your information. That's where you find out you have a high clearance. Okay, you got such a high clearance that you're able to get access to things that not everybody can get access to. Okay, and they only put people in those type of positions that they know that are going to be literally hush hush, because it is a very sensitive information that they're going to be able to access, and they want to make sure that they can trust that individual. So with that, he's an Air Force intelligence officer. Kind of like, if you want to be honest, he's kind of like, and I'm just going to jump over there real quick. He's kind of like Cameron in the Nancy Guthrie case. Cameron in the Nancy Guthrie case, he was a security intelligence, Air Force intelligence officer. If you want to equate that, that is what Cameron was, the son of Nancy Guthrie. Don't want to confuse anybody, but I'm just letting you know he had that same clearance. He's got access to a lot of information. All right, now let's go back to Sullivan. Just wanted to compare the two. The National Air and Space Intelligence Center. That means pretty much everything that's in the sky. Okay, he would cover everything that's in the sky. He would have access to what's in the sky. His call sign. Everyone has a call sign. His call sign, better known to his friends, colleagues by his call sign, Quake. Quake, almost like earthquake. It was Quake. His deployments, he deployed to the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, and U.S. Indo-Pacific Command during a Bronze Star for his valor during Operation Enduring Freedom. So he got that Bronze Star for doing something courageous during Operation Enduring Freedom. And you guys know what Operation Enduring Freedom was all about. And if you don't, just Google it. Now, the UFO UAP stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. That was what they changed UFO to. Okay, they changed it to that. Now, he was what's called a whistleblower. And under a whistleblower, you cannot be charged for telling Congress about information that is very, for a better lack of words, confidential. Okay, because in the past you couldn't say nothing. Now, if you go under literally the Whistleblower Act, you can actually talk about these things with Congress. So he was part of a legacy of the U.S. UFO crash retrieval program. That means when we get something that crashes that's not from Earth, something that happens that's really out there, he's one of the individuals they would call. He was preparing to provide classified testimony to Congress regarding these covert programs. So he knows a lot about these programs, and he's going to talk about these programs to Congress. They want to hear what he has to say. They have called him. And if you don't know by now, there's a lot of people that are wanting to know what the hell is out there in the skies, right? It's just very, very serious. So he literally, UFO in the government's possession, he planned to testify. He was preparing to provide classified testimony to Congress regarding these covert programs. Not programs of any type, covert programs that only the people who need to know would know. And he was one of them that needed to know. Now, here's the circumstances of his unaliving. And this is where it starts to get interesting. He ended up becoming unalive on May 12, 2024. Think about that. May 12, 2024. Approximately 2 years and some odd months. At his home in Falls Church, Virginia, at the age of only 39. April says, oh, wow, what a job that would be investigating. I mean, it's just crazy, right? I mean, and understand when we say UFOs, we're thinking, woohoo, the little space thing goes up in the sky and, that type of thing, little green men and all that. But no, seriously, all it means is unidentified flying object, UFO. You see something, but you don't know what the hell it is. The government sees it on radar and they can't even tell what it is. It's moving too fast. It's moving too quick. It's doing maneuvers that we don't have anything that can do what it's doing. It is way above our level. That's what it means. And it's serious because this literally challenges the fact of our national security. Where does it come from? Who is it? Where is it at? There's a little spaceman Carolina girl just put up. That's the whole idea. And some people think this is just, a red herring, something. Some people say, oh, that's just, talk. That's not real. I don't really know, in all honesty. Do I think there's something out there in the big atmosphere in the world? I think there is. I would be foolish to think that there's that big old space that we have seen out there, that there's nothing else but us. I just have a hard time believing that. To me, that's pretty arrogant to think that we are the only ones that are in this big world, for a better lack of sense. So now, Bible's in the house, red, white, and blue. Good to have your Bible. So now, Sullivan, he passed away May 12, 2024 at his home in Falls Church, Virginia. At the age of 39, the man was young, everybody. he was super young. My gosh, it's just crazy. Medical ruling authorities included the Northern District Office of the Chief Medical Examiner determined his death was an accidental drug overdose. Where have we heard about accidental possible drug overdoses? Oh, that's right. Alina Moore. Can't make this stuff up, everybody. That was another case we were looking at. Still looking at. An accidental drug overdose resulting from a lethal combination of alcohol, aprozolam, which is basically Xanax, cyclozeprine, and impermine. I don't know what they do, but they're not good. They don't sound healthy. He took this combination apparently, and that's what caused him to become unalive. Now, the online scrutiny, his death occurred just weeks. And here's the kicker, and you always have to ask yourself when and what was going on during that time to get an idea. His death occurred just weeks before his scheduled closed-door testimony to Congress, which was sparked widespread debate and speculation among politicians and the public. How fitting. He becomes unalive just weeks before he's going to go to Congress and speak on what was going on, what he knew. Holly's in the house. It's crazy that so many make it back from active duty and then lose their lives back home. So sad, without a doubt. Well said, Holly. Well said, my friend. April, prescription muscle relaxers in simple terms. Think about that. So that's apparently how he became unalive, weeks before he was supposed to testify. The FBI has reportedly examined whether his death is connected to a broader pattern involving other deceased or missing U.S. scientists and research. So the FBI is looking at what kind of pattern does Sully show that would fit that narrative. "39, he dies at Falls Church, Virginia, home of where the accidental drug overdose from multiple medications." The New York Post cites Saturday citing records from his state's Northern District Office of Chief Medical Examiner. Among the substance reportedly found Sullivan, they were Xanax anti-anxiety. So he was taking Xanax anti-anxiety medication, muscle relaxants, and alcohol, along with another one called benzoyl whatever that hell that was. He was set to be interviewed in weeks before his death by the lawmakers of our Congress. Okay, they wanted to hear what he had to say because this story has been in the news up until a lot of things happening. Everything from the Epstein files, everything from oh God, you name it, from the Iran conflict, everything about. There's a lot of stuff that was happening during this time, and he was going to be talking to Congress about it. Representative Eric Burleson, a Missouri Republican who serves on the House Oversight Committee Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Earlier this month, Burleson said his office contacted the FBI because of the timing of Sully's death. Think about that for a minute. It's not people within his group that is questioning or asking the question why. It's people of Congress that are asking something doesn't sound right. Burleson said his office contacted the FBI because of the timing of his unaliving. Holly says, so then they should look at the doctor that gave the prescriptions, no mental health evaluations, and you prescribe those meds. Without a doubt. Well said, Holly. Well said. April, why would anyone take two kin? Unbelievable. Merrick Van Reckenkamp, a former national security analyst, said Sullivan's death raises concerns. He noted that Sully had provided information to another man by the name of David Gersh. David Gersh is a former intelligence officer who has alleged the existence of secret government programs to retrieve and study unidentified aerial objects. Now, if you haven't followed anything on the news about this, David Gersh literally came out as a very high ranking individual and said, this is what's going on. And also was one of the main whistleblowers that came out and said, this is happening currently now, and no one knows about it. And the people should know, according to him. Kind of muscle relax, laughing out misprint, says April. And a former intelligence officer who has alleged the existence of secret government programs to retrieve and study unidentified aerial objects. He was very, very close friends with David Gersh. They were very good friends. And one of those key witnesses that Gersh based his inspector general complaint on, which was deemed credible. So when Gersh came up to Congress and they were talking, Congress believed everything he had to say. They literally said, man, this is not right. This makes sense, for a better lack of words. And one of his main persons that were going to speak was Sully. And it was deemed credible and urgent that triggered notification to Congress. Von Kemp told Elizabeth Vargas on Friday, I would be surprised if these programs exist, that Sullivan was one of the key potential first-hand witnesses, he added. First-hand witnesses is somebody who you can literally get and say, they saw this or they saw that. It's a first-hand eyewitness, not like someone who says, he told me he saw this. He told me he saw that. That's second-hand. Third-hand would, my friend of a friend of a friend told me this. No, this is right to the person who actually came from first-hand knowledge. Questions surrounding Sullivan's death unalived have resurfaced amid online speculation about whether adversarial nations or other actors may be targeting U.S. researchers connected to aerospace and defense work. Holly, was he sent to the VA doctor? That's a good question. They haven't mentioned that just yet, Holly. April, accidentally. Whiskey, I took 2 different muscle relaxers when I had my spine surgery. I have taken many muscle relaxers myself from the military. No doubt about it. April, holy, I agree unless they were brought on the street. April, whiskey, by accident. Online speculation whether adversarial nations of other actors may be targeting U.S. research connected to aerospace and defense work. In recent years, several individuals with ties, those ties to those sectors, have died and gone missing, prompting the FBI to review some cases with assistance from other agencies. Sullivan is not among those cases, but von Rankamp and others have said the circumstances of his death merit further review. UAP witness dies of overdose in 2024. 39 years old, good health, great health, has a high clearance, very high clearance, security clearance. He's going to go talk to Congress, and all of a sudden, a few weeks later, before he goes to talk to Congress, he is found unalive. Coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so. My opinion. I wonder if the missing scientists were under some kind of mind control. You know, I've always wondered that, Bible. I've always wondered that because it always seems like they leave everything behind. They go for a walk into the woods, by the woods, on a trail, only to never be seen again. Very good point. April, Bible, I am beginning to think that too. Holly, why, if you are a credible witness like that, are you not protected until the case is over? Very good point, Holly. Very good point. You would think that they would surround him with some type of, maybe a two-man task force just to make sure he's okay, or put him in a witness protection program. Obviously, they didn't see it necessary at the time, or maybe he just didn't want that. Maybe he felt like what he had to say, people wanted to hear. I couldn't answer that, but that's a damn good point. Whiskey, I think there's a lot of inside jobs, without a doubt, Whiskey. So, a New York Post reports Saturday, citing records that the State Northern District of the Chief Medical Examiner, among the substance reported, found in Sullivan's sisters, Xanax and anti-anxiety medication, and the rest of the stuff we talked about, to include alcohol. Doc shows feds the documents that he was going to reveal shows feds met about UFOs in the 1990s research. UFOs, unidentified flying objects, which now are known as UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenons. Celtic Pad with the Dap Dog. Gonna listen while I do some things. Hugs, everyone. Thank you, Dee Dee, for this information. You got it, Celtic Pit. Thank you for being here. At the time of the death on May 12, 2024, Sullivan had been scheduled to be interviewed by lawmakers in the coming weeks. Representative Eric Burleson, a Missouri Republican who serves on the House Oversight Committee Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets, told Fox News earlier this month. Burleson said his office contacted the FBI because of the timing of Sullivan's unaliving. Merrick von Rempkamp, a former national security analyst, said Sullivan's death raises concerns. He noted that Sullivan had provided information to David Grush, a former intelligence officer who has alleged that existence of secret government programs to retrieve and study unidentified aerial objects. Matthew James Sullivan, an underdated government photo. To my understanding, Sullivan was a very, very close friend of David Grush and one of those key witnesses that Grush based his Inspector General complaint on, which was deemed credible and urgent, and that triggered notifications to Congress. He said on Friday, I would be surprised if these programs existed, that Sullivan was one of the key potential first-hand witnesses. First-hand witnesses, first account. He saw this. He added, Sullivan's death should be reviewed. Former national security analyst. Questions surrounding Sullivan's death have resurfaced. Admin online speculation about whether adversarial nations or other actors may be targeting U.S. researchers connected to aerospace and defense work. I mean, you have to understand, this is a big thing right now. China, Russia, North Korea, they all want this knowledge. If we have it, they want it, and they have their spies here to get it. And that's the concern. They could be often people who are working to preserve this information or to literally take us to another level in our country. Whiskey, we can't even find out if we have unalived senators or not. Questions surrounding Sullivan's unaliving has resurfaced admin online speculation about whether adversary nations and other actors were targeting U.S. researchers connected to aerospace and dense work in recent years. Several individuals with ties to the sectors have become unalived or gone missing. The FBI review in some cases with assistance from other agencies. And of course, they're saying that he basically needs to be reevaluated as to why he became alive. Now, look, everybody, I can tell you firsthand that this is something that has been going on forever, ever since Roswell, ever since back in the day. You have to understand a lot of this stuff was being housed right here in Dayton, Ohio, about 2.5, 3 hours from where I live. That's where this stuff was all taken. That's where this stuff was being housed. There is a lot of there. Whether people believe it or not, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I'll tell you this, a lot of people have lost their lives keeping these secrets all up until recently when Trump has ordered for those documents to be released. We can't even find out if he was an unalived senator. Oleg, hello, DD. Good to have you, Oleg. April, hello, Oleg. Oleg, hi, April. Bible, that government may go away with you when they're done with you. Pretty much, it's what it seems like to me. It's what it seems like to me that he just literally became unalive, and that was like the end of it, literally. He was getting ready to testify in Congress. You don't go and testify to Congress, and they don't ask you to testify unless they have some validity to believe what you have to say literally could affect our country, literally, the security of our country. And yet this is big news, folks. This has been going on for a while. It's just that no one has dared to go ahead and open those doors to try to let the people speak about everything that everybody is claiming to see, whether it's out in space or in water or whatnot. I mean, think about it. It's just different. Holly says, so we may have had some top secret information that we're afraid of getting out. Maybe they use mind erasing experiment drugs, and with his meds, he was on a deadly combo. That's very possible. That's a good point, Holly. April, I'm not sure it's our government doing it. It may be foreign. Well, and that's the whole reason, April, and you're right. That's the whole reason why our government is starting to take this serious now, because they're claiming it's not them, but they don't know who it is. So therefore, what do? You go outside the box and you start looking at your adversaries. I do tell you this. I have followed this stuff in the past to know that definitely it always seems when something's fixing to come out that something happens. Always, without a doubt. When there's something ready to be broken out to the public, something always happens. Whether it's a scientist who wants to tell about what they have developed in the ethosphere of propulsion or reverse engineering or all that type of thing. Whether it's a scientist who says that they found ways to, quantum physics and how to do things that I can't even process, right? When it comes to things that scientists have literally have been able to decipher how to explain this in layman's terms for people to understand the magnitude of how this could change the graphics of what and how far we go in the future. Something happens. That's all has happened. All that has happened and some. That's not a hyperbole. That's not just making it up. That's a fact. Okay, so we know that there is definitely possibility that foreign actors are trying to get this information because Like I told you all before, we are the most premium top country right now at this state. We are literally a country like no other. We are the top individuals. It's not because I live here, because we live here, because we're Americans and we want to say that. No, it's a fact. We are literally the top of the crop when it comes to our technology, and everybody wants it. Everybody wants it. And that's why you have people that are becoming unalive, in my opinion. I'm not sure it's our government doing it. It may be foreign April, like the scientists that researched cancer cure that we talked about a couple of days ago. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, April. You got scientists that are finding ways how to go ahead and make literally like solve the things of cancer that we've been hoping that someone would sooner or later, find a discovery or find a cure. And these people are becoming unalive. Then you ask yourself, well, what happens if they do find a cure? Well, people would live longer. People would survive longer, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends on who you talk to. You know, there's always different theories on different sides of the coin. So that is what happens in our government. We do have that, whether it's foreign or domestic. We always have reasons when it comes to what? Money. There's always a reason when it comes to money. And that's always been the number one X factor in just about everything. You could lead right back to money. So Sully was a guy who was literally coming forward to explain what he knew and what he saw firsthand, not second, not third, not someone told him, not, he thought, no, firsthand eyewitness on what he saw. Now, here's the thing you got to ask yourself. Why do we look at these people in high stature because they're scientists, because they're aviators, because they're people that are in high positions of government? We look at them as people that we trust, right? People that we literally trust, that we look at and say, wow, man, they are so, like, they have so much information. But when it comes to something like this, dealing with them talking about what they've seen, and because it deals with UFOs or UAPs, all of a sudden now we don't trust that person no more. Oh, he's a cuckoo. He's crazy. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. How does that work? How does that work? We look at him like this, in the light like this, but as soon as they start talking about something that we don't understand, we start saying, they're not all there. How's that happened? They were good enough when they were here. And when they start talking about stuff that we don't understand, we start putting them down over here like they just lost their marbles. You ever see that? You ever hear that? You ever watch that? How people tend to talk like that? It's crazy to think that on one hand, they are so capable of doing so many things, but yet because we don't understand something, we look at them like they're crazy. Not me. I don't do that at all. I don't. Like the scientists that research cancer, Holly, there are so many infiltrators within our system. Population control, without a doubt. Well said, Holly. Good morning, Marianne. Good morning. Good to have you, Marianne. So there's so many things that literally are happening that we are just not able to understand. And that's why you have whistleblowers. See, in the past, if somebody would come out and they would say these things, they would be arrested and thrown in jail. Careers are over. But by them coming out under the Whistleblowers Act, they can come out. Their career still may be in jeopardy, but they can come out under the Whistleblowers Act and explain what they know, and they are protected, which I think everyone should be protected when it comes to this. Because here's the thing, why do we think we praise them when they're at the highest level? And as soon as they start talking about something we don't understand, we put them as a wacko. How does that work? Seriously? Just because we don't understand what they're talking about, the dynamics, makes no sense to me. None. Zero. These scientists that we have talked about in the past, they're coming up with all this ingenuity that we're not even able to comprehend. Like I just said earlier, the propulsion, the reverse engineering, the anti-gravity, yada yada, and goes on. We don't know nothing about that. The common man and woman, we don't know nothing about it. We can't even begin to understand it. But somebody who is so smart, so intelligent, considered to be geniuses, are able to start to process this. Because as we come into a new age in our world, we have technology that can decipher some of this stuff. So now we look at them and go, now when they start talking about this stuff, we look at them and say, oh, well, they're just a little bit not all there. How? What changed? What changed that made them look like they're not all there when just before they talked about this, we thought they were the brightest people in the world? April, high IQ people know things we have no clue, but doesn't make them crazy. Without a doubt, April. And that's my point, everybody. Holly, if they don't let them talk about what they know, it opens people's eyes to what is really going on. Without a doubt, Holly. Thank you, April. Thank you, Holly. That's so true. Because we can look at people who go into, I mean, think about it. Think of people who go up to the moon, okay? They're astronauts. They go to the moon. And in that moon, when they go to the moon or they go wherever they go in space, all of a sudden they come back and they say, yeah, there was some crazy stuff up there. What do you mean? Man, I saw this and I saw, hey, did you remember so and so saw it too? There was these lights, they were moving like this, and there were this and there were that. Man, it looks really out there. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was something that I've never seen before. And what do we say? Oh, they probably had some type of dementia, or they probably got affected because of the air, or they probably, we try to make an excuse to discredit them just because we don't understand it, just because we think it's crazy. But up until that point, we looked at him like, oh my God, these guys are the cream of the crop of our country. They have learned to do and navigate certain things that we can only dream of. But because they say something that we don't understand, we're ready to throw in the towel. It's ridiculous. It's stupidity. That's just asinine. You take what you can get as far as information. That's how you learn. That's how you become more smarter. That's how you become more smarter as a country. You gain this knowledge and then you try to figure it out. And that's what these people do until the government or whoever says no more. Eskridge. Remember Melissa Eskridge? We talked about her. She wanted to publish what she had found under anti-gravity, reverse propulsion. She worked for NASA, remember? And she wanted to go ahead and publish her book. And what happened to her? NASA said, not happening. You're not publishing any of this information. She was paranoid. People were following her. According to her, people were following her. There was stress made on her lives. And then what happened eventually? She ends up calling a friend and saying, what? If you find me that I took my life, I didn't do it. If you find that I crashed my car, that didn't happen. I did not do it. If you find something that I unalive myself, I would never do that. That's not me. Didn't happen. And then she becomes to be found in her home, of all things, with the shotgun, unalive. Think about that, what that really means. These are just examples of how idiotic people will look at things and say, oh, they were just going through many problems. Really? How about they stumbled over something and they were able to figure something out that we've never thought anybody would ever be able to figure out? Think about that for a minute. It just blows my mind. We can put people at certain heights because of what they bring to the table, but we can also say, oh, well, I really don't believe that. Well, of course you don't believe it because you don't have the smarts to understand it. It's just common sense. Thank you, Marianne. Power back. All good today. Holly, they don't want independent thinkers. They want to control the narrative. Without a doubt. Well said, Holly. Without a doubt. Then you have others like McCashland that we talked about. McCashland, who ran the base in Dayton, Ohio, who knew about all these things dealing with unknown objects, UAPs, because they housed all this stuff in Dayton, Ohio. And then he does all this stuff. He gives, 30 some years of his life, his whole pretty much adult life to this country. And he has the most highest clearance you can have. And then what happens? All of a sudden, he goes back home, New Mexico, has another house over there, right there at the border of Colorado. He goes back, wants to take a walk one day, and now he just disappears, and they can't find him. They found a shirt, they found a belt, some boots, but they can't find him. He just disappeared off the face of the earth. McCashland, high ranking general, major, just become unalive. And what do we say happened? Oh no, he just, just another person went out. No, it's not just another person. It's a person with a lot of information. And he just one day just disappeared out of thin air. Can't find him. Oh well. It's not logical, folks. It just doesn't happen like that. They don't want independent thinkers. They need to control the narrative. Marianne, Little Green Man. He did not have his phone, Marianne. McCashland didn't have his phone. This last guy that we're talking about now, he didn't, he was found unalive in his home. So I'm sure his phone would be there. April, just weird to me that they all have things behind like watches, phones, matter, cause of death or disappearance. It's ridiculous. And can you honestly, for everything we have heard, if you have an open mind, for everything we have heard, could you imagine for everything we have heard that this is all just coincidence? That these people are just all of a sudden just mysteriously disappearing off the face of the earth? Or all of a sudden they're just going ahead and end up just unalive, because pills that they were been taking for a while, never had a problem with it, but all of a sudden one day they took one too many and they combinated it with something else and therefore they became unalive. Does that really make sense? When you really stop and think about it, using the God-given brain and mentality that you all have, does that make sense? Well, hell no, it don't make sense. And that's my point. It doesn't make sense. This stuff is happening, whether we like it or not, whether we understand it or not. This stuff is happening, folks. Their stuff is happening. And either we start to try to figure out what the hell's happening as a country, or someone sooner or later is going to end up getting all that information and knowledge, and we will no longer be the beacon of the world. Because that's really what this whole thing sends us to. It's that next generation. It's that next frontier. That's how that usually works. Ole, because of the things people leave behind when unaliving themselves, it is so easy for Red Rummer to make it look like they unalive themselves, leave those things behind. Well said, Oleg. Well said. Holly, I also find it strange that all the missing people have no family that will talk or have no family at all. Strange. Very strange. You think they picked these people? These people, you think they picked them by accident? No, hell no, they don't pick them by accident. That's the whole point. Good point, Oleg. So that's what the whole thing is about. It's about people that are going missing that have so much knowledge to offer our country. And they offer it, and we hear what they do, and we're in awe of what they do and what they bring to our country until they talk about something that we have no freaking clue. We can't understand. We can't begin to comprehend because the stuff that they know, it's not like Mary ran down the street and jumped in the pool. Mary went to the carryout and got herself a candy bar. No, no. This is like, Mary was walking down the street. Everybody turned around and she was gone, and no one can find her, and no one has still found her. That's what it's like. It's that deep. And you ask yourself, where the hell Mary go? She was just right there. That happened in several occasions already, where a group are walking and they turn around and someone's not there, and then they go back thinking, oh, well, they probably, probably they were further behind us and nothing. Oh, probably they just had to use the restroom, nothing. Next thing you know, a few days later, still can't find the individual. You think that's by accident? I don't think that's by accident. I think that's very much calculated and deliberate. I can't prove it, but they can't disprove it either. That's the problem. So the idea, you just have to have an open mind. When you're doing work in literally sleuthing, doing law enforcement work or any type of work like law enforcement, you have to think outside the box. In all these cases we have covered so far, you have to think outside the box because the normal thing, there is patterns to things that happen normally, right? We have had kidnappings before, like in the Nancy Guthrie case. We just haven't had that many at all of an 84-year-old woman. We have had kidnapping cases before in this country, prominent people. We just didn't have someone that would give the information to TMZ or to other TV stations. That's not how it works. In other words, there's so many different variables. Doesn't change anything. It's just different things that happen. And you have to have an open mind to be able to be willing to look outside that box to see if maybe, just maybe, there's something there. I also find it strange that all the missing people have no families and will talk or have no family of strange. April, good point, Oleg. Marianne, good point, Oleg. People need to look outside the box for Nancy. Guys, we covered a lot of cases. In a lot of cases we covered, it's all about you have to think outside the box. The normal thing of this person was taken and this person just died, became unalive at that moment, that's not how it always works. Okay, you have to think what could have drove them to do X, Y, and Z. What makes them so dangerous to other people that they have to feel like they have to take this person and unalive her. You know, there's so many things you have to look at. April, well, Savannah's brother and husband work for government, so who knows if not connected? Very possible. Think outside the box. Think outside the box. So did Nancy's nephew, same as Cameron's job? Yes. Yes. So the point is, if you open your mind to a lot of the cases we cover, you will come up, and don't doubt yourself when you come up with these theories and ideas. Don't doubt yourself. Like, oh, well, that can't be it. I know I'm thinking about this, but that can't be it because you know what? No, they would have known that already. Don't underestimate your thinking process because that's how they do it. They think outside the box to figure out what happened, what went wrong. And you need to do that because that's the only way you're going to come to understand when someone gives you a scenario that seems like, man, that's a little crazy, I think. And then you start to think and go, well, is it that crazy? I mean, I could see this being panned out, this being panned out, this being panned out. Damn, it doesn't look so crazy anymore. Nothing's going to be right there in front of you to say, oh, see, they spelled it out. We took her and she was here. And then we dragged her over here and you can see her marks here. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. You're going to have to put it together. That's why they call it detective work. That's why they call it investigations. You are trying to investigate what happened. That's the bottom line. Marianne, I'm at that point about Nancy. I have changed my theory tons of times. Well said, Marianne. Oleg, never stop thinking, April. You can't stop thinking because when you think that it just doesn't make sense and you give up, you could have been that closer to literally hitting the nail on the head. Literally. That's fact. In law enforcement, yes, they always talk about literally taking stages. In law enforcement, you take facts and you try to figure out the facts, the details, right? You go to a house, you don't know anything about this house. I go to Nancy's house, I don't see nothing there. I don't know this person. I don't know the house. All I got is a summary of what happened. And I'm reading the summary. I'm reading what the officers, what the deputies stated in their comments and what the witnesses stated. And I'm reading it for the first time, looking at it, going, okay, okay, okay. And I read everything. And this is the beginning. Now I got to figure out how did she get out of the house? Who took her? Why did they take her? What made her so valuable? What made it so important for them to have? Why an 84-year-old woman? Yada, yada. And you follow me? You keep going on and on. Now you take those facts that you have and you start putting them as facts if you have facts. The problem is, in this case, the only facts we really had was that she went missing, and that's it. And for better lack of words, there was some blood at her front porch. There was a porch guy at her front door at some point in time. That's it. But that's what you start with. And then you start looking for the clues. You start looking for that anomaly, that little blood splatter at the front porch. Maybe why is her watch underneath her bed? Maybe you take the watch and you go ahead and you run forensics on it, see if there's any fingerprints on it that are not Nancy's or of the family. Then you go and you start looking at other things and you say, well, why is the back doors open? Now you start looking at the very top of the top part of the door and you start checking for fingerprints there because somebody who literally opened the door is not going to open it by the handles. They're probably going to grab it from the top because they think people won't look up here. So you look up here at that railing at the top of the door to get fingerprints off, see if there's anything there. You follow me? It's stuff like that you do. And it's stuff like that what good investigators do. The flower pots were moved. The foliage that was trying to be put on the nest cam at the door, right? The porch guy had a mouthpiece light. He had a piece light, a mouth light in his mouth. He kept taking it out, in and out. Now he's grabbing the foliage. He's got the mouthpiece on. He grabs the foliage. He comes over. He's looking at trying to put whatever. Maybe he takes it out. Now you got DNA from his saliva on that plant. It stays there or it falls to the ground. But now you got that as evidence because you can take that plant of whatever he used and whatever he touched because of the saliva from the bite light in and out. And now guess what? You have something to work with. It's all these things that have to be done. That's why they're crucial. That's what investigation is all about, everybody. It's going to the outside the box to think, what could I have checked or what could I have missed to figure out? And I'm using Nancy's as a example. I know we're talking about Sullivan, okay, Matthew Sullivan. But the point is, that's how you get information. You don't get it any other way. Marianne, it's mind blowing that we have no idea about Nancy. Without a doubt, Marianne. April, Cameron told Savannah it was kidnapping like he knew. And he told her, walk off. Dee Dee, you make me smarter for sure. Thank you, April. Oleg, the Siders. This was a shock. One of them lived in a hut. Literally, she passed away in this hut along when they found out she was $250,000. She owed $250,000. She had $250,000. They found out she has $250,000 in the bank. Interesting, Oleg. Whiskey, the info from the case has been messed up for day one. Without a doubt, Whiskey, without a doubt. Oleg, 2. April, Whiskey, I agree with you for sure. Holly, the case has been bought from the start. Common sense would tell you anyone to block off the whole area at the start. Feel like it was supposed to be unsolved. Annie, yes, messed it from day one. You see what I'm saying? Now you guys are all looking at it and saying exactly the same thing. You guys are spot on. That's exactly right. Every one of you. You know, you look at the case and you ask those questions. You know, you try to figure out the dynamics. You try to figure out how did they check the bracket, grabbing the bracket from the back? You know, did they open the doors? You know, I mean, it sounds so elementary when you're going there, but you have to be spot on. You have to be literally laser focused in what you're doing to remember everything. That it's almost like replaying the scenario in your head, and you're doing everything, you're checking everything. The bedpost, did the bedpost have any of those, you know how the beds have the wood and have the bedposts on them? Could someone have, you know, grabbed onto that or grabbed that bedpost? Maybe, maybe not. Why not check that bedpost? Maybe they're sitting there, or maybe they're standing there in front of Nancy and they have their hand like this. Maybe it's on a desktop. Maybe it's on a side railing. My point is, you look everywhere to get that information. It's the littlest things that can make all the difference in the world. Like I said, the watch is under the bed. When they got the first ransom note, what did they do? They talked about literally the people who took. Nancy talked about literally they could tell you where the watch is, her Apple Watch. Now think about this. Her Apple Watch that wasn't mentioned at all in the Kalila case. It wasn't put into the paperwork in the Kalila case. It wasn't mentioned in a lot of other theories of what they had and what they found when the officers went to the house. They found on the top, they found a phone, hearing aids, wallet, whatever else, but no Apple Watch is mentioned. But yet the perpetrator tells you in a letter, the very beginning, I can tell you where that Apple Watch is at. It's at the underneath the bed at the corner of whatever, and voila, it is there. How does anybody miss that? How does anybody not think that that's important? How does anybody not think that that's not crucial? It didn't happen by accident. You know why I know it didn't happen by accident? Because the perp told you where it was at. And you as the investigator never saw it. And if you did, you never thought about, it must have fell down. Really? Or how about somebody must have put it down there? You see what I'm saying? When Pima County Sheriff's Office left at the beginning, and I know I'm jumping on this case a little bit more than what I wanted to, but think about it. They go literally to the house, Pima County Sheriff's Office. They do their forensics, do whatever the hell they're doing, gathering their information. They leave after 2 days, less than 2 days, give the house back to the family. FBI then comes on the fourth day and says, we'd like to go ahead and get back this house to see what else we find. So they take the house again. Now we have contamination. We have things that are problems, things that are causing. So what do? Oh, they go and let's take the Nest camera, or let's take the floodlight, see if anybody damaged it or broke it or was moving it or whatever. They go and take the other camera that's on top of the roof. How did they left that behind? Hell, for all that matter, they went in and got all the cameras from the inside of the house. Why wasn't that done? You see what I'm saying? Those are things that make sense. Marianne, hi, Gene. Gene, Marianne, hi there. Oleg, sorry, my keyboard can't spell. Gene, hi, Annie. Marianne, Gene. Holly, maybe the porch guy video was a decoy to throw everyone off. Just a thought. Okay. Then continue that thought, Holly. That's a good point. Now continue it. What are they throwing everybody off for? What is that? I mean, that's a good point. But what are they throwing them off from? What are they throwing? Because I've heard this a lot, and I guess I've always asked that question. Continue with that thought, Holly. Continue as you say, maybe the porch guy video was a decoy to throw everyone off. Just a thought. Very good question. But now let's expand that a little bit more. What were they trying to throw them off from? That's what you got to ask yourself. What were they throwing everybody from? Has anybody got a clue or has got an idea? If that is the case, which is a good question, what are they throwing them from? 9784, hi there. Marianne, did you read the Kalela plea agreement? It states he called 3 family members. Yes, it says he texted 2, and he made a call to a third. They're just not telling you who that third was. Very well said, Marianne. Absolutely. Gene, a lot of distractions in this case. April, Holly, no timestamp on the video makes me suspicious like it even is real. Holly says you can make it make sense, April. Whiskey, I don't buy they only found a hair inside the house or blood inside. But you see, that's good. You all are thinking outside the box. But when you come to something like let's say I said, so they went up there, the FBI, and they retrieved the camera at the top of the house. Okay, why would that be important? Because maybe they'll be able to get the company who made this, they'll be able to get some type of pictures, still pictures or something, going through the back door like they did with the Nest camera. It's possible, right? So you keep following that lead. You know, why did they go to the back of the floodlight that was destroyed? Maybe someone got angry because it wasn't coming off, that they just started bashing it. And maybe in that process, something was left behind, some foreign material, like whatever they used to break the floodlight. Maybe in the process of punching that floodlight, there was a little cut on the hand, and there was a slight little of DNA from the blood, you just never know, right? So you continue that path. Holly, no timestamp that makes it suspicious, like it's even real. Just like the scientist's phone, which left behind. Exactly, Holly. Why? Why did he leave it behind? Or did he not leave it behind? And once he was literally taken out, they put it there to make it look like he left it behind. So many different things. Marianne, is the porch guy video even from the 31st? Another good point. Holly, look for the wrong body type. April, maybe third family member he called was Cameron. That would blow my mind. Very possible. Very possible. I think the same thing, April. There's so many things there, guys and ladies. There's so many things there. But you have to dig deep, because this case, there's nothing that it's going to give to you. You're going to have to find that element that doesn't make sense. And when you found something? When no one else can dispute it. That's when you have something. When no one else can dispute it. I found, and this is an example, I found a 22 casing shell underneath the bed. There was a bullet wound to the victim's head. Really can't tell exactly what size it was. But because you found the 22 or the 32 or whatever, guess what? You just found what probably is exactly what it was. It's just keep searching. When you find something, you keep digging even more. And that's how that navigates and opens more. It opens up even more when you start doing that. You guys are all good at that. Okay? Literally, you guys can do that. My point is, when you find a theory, ask yourself, how would this prevent me from gaining more knowledge? Or how would this prevent me from understanding what I'm trying to look for? Looking for the wrong blood type and height would throw anyone off, because you would say it didn't make the video guy. Good point, Holly. Oleg and Annie said a walk-off. Correct. But we know Oleg, Annie said it was a walk-off. And we know that probably, according to the sheriff's department, he says, well, that she didn't walk off on her own. She was taken by force, right? Holly, looking for the wrong blood type and would anyone off because of it didn't make that guy off. Oleg, I suppose you would think that at first, with the car being there, I would have gone to the neighbors first to look and see if she was there. Very possible. Good point. Heather, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Heather. Welcome in, my friend. Let's click that likes, everybody. Click the likes, get those algorithms going. Let's make it happen, everybody. So the whole point, going from Matthew's case, okay, Sully's case, Matthew Sullivan, going from his case, and now we jump over here to Nancy's, because it's what we're currently dealing with at the present time. And we're dealing with this, trying to figure out what we need to do to figure out how this unfolded. Why would Annie say a walk-off when she couldn't walk far? 110,000 reasons, possibly, Marianne, and you're right. Why would she say that? She knew her mom couldn't walk. She knew her mom had bad health. Was it so they would spend more time looking for her around the area and not looking for a vehicle, or not looking for a a suspect in the area that's still in the area? I'm just saying. Very good point. Very good point. Why would Savannah say when Annie called Savannah and she said call the cops and she said they're here, and then Savannah says we'll call the hospitals, and then Annie says well I already did, and she's like well I'm going to go ahead and call them all again. What was the basis of the untrust that Savannah might have felt that Annie didn't do a good job calling all the hospitals? When in reality, all they had to do was tell the deputy who was talking to them, the first responding deputy, to when he talks to them to say, "Hey, we think this might have happened." Well, let me call. We think she was taken by an ambulance. Okay, well, let me call dispatch to see if there was a ambulance sent to this residence. In a matter of seconds, they would have had their answer. You follow me? And I get it. A lot of times people don't think clearly because they're all over the place, because their anxiety's high. They're very scared and nervous that their mom just might have been kidnapped and they'll never see her again. Savannah said herself, Camera said kidnapping, and she asked if it was her fault. She also said Annie called and thought it was a medical emergency. Right there, conflicting statements from A to C, without a doubt. And I think a lot of this stuff, literally, you know, maybe Cameron's not understanding what Annie is telling Savannah, and maybe what Annie is telling Cameron is not what she's, you know what I'm saying? Like they're all over the place. But when we sit back and we start processing that case, you can see where all the dynamics are. You can see where everything fits. Hope you're having a good day, Heather. Thank you for being here. At that age, it's good guess that her health history, without a doubt. Holly, also, she had a very few friends. Both cases have similarities, things like behind little to no friends and family want to talk. See, and then you look at that, and then you find out, like in this case, you find out, she was very light. Savannah said, remember? She's very light. She's a very likable person. You would love her if you just got to know her. So my question is, so all the people that live by her, they acted like they liked her, that they loved her, but ain't nobody really did anything to help find her that lived around her that we're aware of. You follow me? It's like, what really did happen here? And who was involved? And why wasn't there any urgency from neighbors to come to her need as trying to help look? I mean, you would think a community would have band together, formed a search party right there on the spot as soon as they found out she was probably kidnapped, formed a party, got the head of house, HOA, got everybody around and said, let's go look for her. We'll start this way, and then we'll go this way. And we'll start now. That way, if other people come in to search like Cajun Navy or EquiSearch or whatnot, they'll go ahead and they can join us. But right now, let's go see if we can find our neighbor. That's usually what neighbors do, isn't it? Isn't that what neighbors do? So why didn't they do that? She was well loved, according to Savannah. Everybody loved her. She's so nice. Just need to talk to her, get to know her. She would give you the shirt off her back for you. It doesn't seem like any neighbor gave her anything. It's just pointing out the obvious. Everything's not always what it seems to be. For all sake and purposes, maybe they didn't really care for Nancy. Maybe they felt jealous because she had a daughter that was on TV that was famous. You know what I mean? Maybe there was some sense of animosity because of that reason. Had nothing to do with Nancy. Had nothing to do with Nancy at all. But in their short mind, maybe that's what it was. Because no one helped look for her. And if they did, I don't know who did. I'm sure someone maybe, hopefully did. But from the sounds of it, from everything we've been hearing, neighbors they didn't seem to really care, in all honesty, in my opinion. At that age, it's a good guess. Holly, also, she had very few friends. Oleg kidnapped would not have entered my head at that stage. Marianne, little aliens. Follow me? You just got to think outside the box. That's all I'm trying to say. And with this case with Sullivan, he was going to talk literally to Congress. He wasn't going to talk to a friend. He wasn't going to talk to a neighbor. He was going to talk to Congress to tell him what he knew firsthand. And he became unalive. Barney, smoke and mirrors. Unbelievable, everybody. Unbelievable. But that's how it works. That's how you get people to literally keep searching in the right and for the right reasons. But you know what? After a day and a half, maybe a day and almost 2 days, Nanos called the search off. Why? Why did he call it off? Did he really believe that she was unalive because of the note? Because he saw the ransom note on the second day? Did he really believe, okay, well, she's probably off, so let's just go ahead and stop her? Really? No need to find a body? You understand what I'm saying? Don't need to find a body? It doesn't work that way, folks. It really doesn't work that way. You can't make that up. And for people to go ahead, or not so much people, but for Nanos to say, well, she's probably unalive. Well, she's probably unalive, like she's probably not unalive. Well, the note said so. So maybe the perps are nearby. Maybe the suspects are nearby who took her and have her. By you calling off the search, maybe they're now able to make that move from one point A to point B to point C, because now they don't have to worry about anybody being out there and seeing them driving wherever in the hell they're at driving. Just logic. But you can't really express that with Nanos because he called everything off. He gave the house back after the second day. Makes no sense to me. Annie, I don't believe she was kidnapped by a stranger. Sorry, me neither. Me neither, Annie. I do not believe this was somebody from the outside that didn't even know her. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The landscaping itself will tell you that's ridiculous. Without a doubt. Well said. But the neighbors are sure sticking together now, but didn't help for their friend in the community. Without a doubt. Well said, Holly. Well said. Neighbors didn't do a damn thing to help find her or even attempt. Maybe one or two did that we don't know about, but as a whole, head of house, the HOA, man, I've been planning a search party amongst all of us. April cover up. Someone told Nano stop searching and stop the FBI. I don't know who put he is in the who, but he isn't the smartest tool in the shed. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. April, well said. Annie, I can't believe Nanos cared. I can't believe Nanos cared because he knows he screwed up. And then you ask the question, did he screw up on purpose? Did he screw up on purpose? I mean, Annie Sullivan said she's far away. The reason I say did he screw up on purpose is because he gave the house back to the family, knowing that very well that now regaining that house 2 days later, there's going to be a lot of compromising of evidence. Was that the plan all along? Just an opinion, a thought. I'm not saying that's exactly why it was done. You kind of get what I'm saying? It makes no sense. And Sue Ellen says they're far away. Well, she's never been one that appeared not wanting to find Nancy. She's been one that always seems to be more of an obstructionist than anything, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. Where is her friends? Savannah said she had lots of friends, a lot of people. Let's talk about the church ladies. Karen from TIR, Karen, the wife of Chris, ends up calling one of the church ladies and they don't want to talk. And to the point where one of them hangs up on Karen because she doesn't want to talk about it. She's glad that they're looking, but she doesn't want no part of it. What the hell is that all about? A Christian? Really? You don't want to help try to find a neighbor? What's up with that? I mean, if these people that you share mornings with every day, that you share time with every Sunday, watching church services, and all of a sudden you can't even want to talk about it? April, gag orders on all near ANSI, in my opinion, probably. But honestly, if this was you, would you allow them to stop you from looking for your friend? Would you allow anybody to stop and looking or tell you not to say nothing because they don't want you to get involved or look for her? Would that stop you? Sure as hell wouldn't stop me. What are you going to do? Arrest me because I'm trying to find my friend? Not happening. He screwed up when he put someone that never handled a case like this in charge. Well said, Marion. Well said. Annie, my daughter's house was 3 months. We could even have my granddaughter's stuff. We had to buy a new one, says Annie. Holly, what forensic evidence besides the blood on the porch did they get? We don't know because they never said. We don't know because it didn't look like they were doing anything to that front door. Maybe they were when they had the white canopy up. Maybe they were getting fingerprints from the door and whatnot, the handle, the Nest Cam bracket, the maybe even the rug. But even then, they left the rug there. Do you know how many particles could have been on that rug? Foreign particles? Maybe streams of hair, maybe pieces of cloth, real tiny fibers that they could have identified. But no, everybody just walked all over it. Wasn't necessary. Nanos can't have people better than him investigating. It shows how bad he thinks, how bad he is. Think about why he dismantled the team of investigators. Absolutely. Nanos threatens all streamers and all searchers. He could do it to neighbors too, without a doubt. Well said. Holly, I would be terrified if I lived in that community, without a doubt. After seeing what you see, how could you not think that? How could you not think that this individual doesn't appear to care about anybody but himself? You follow what I'm saying? It makes no sense, everybody. It makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. Now, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Why this is happening, but it is. And the idea that we can't go ahead and figure it out, it's because we don't have those little pieces that they have. If we had those pieces, we could figure it out. We don't have those pieces, and we'll probably never have those pieces. You know what I mean? We'll probably never have it because they won't give it to us. Why? Because they're not giving it to anybody. Why? Because they probably don't have it themselves because they're not looking. They're not doing the right thing. April says we look at Savannah as important, but look at her brother and husband's jobs. Totally agree. Annie, how dumb are the people there that just listen and they don't seem to be afraid that they are still there? I believe they know what happened and they are not scared for themselves. Very good point, Annie. Very good point. It's a very, very good point. All right, everybody. I want to touch on something real quick because yesterday we covered a case. We will catch up on this again, guaranteed. But I want to touch on something because we had covered this yesterday. And so I did some last night. I did some looking into certain scenarios and possibilities. And this was in reference to the case involving Nolan Wells from Mississippi, who went unalive. Okay. He went unalive. They found him on the 6th. He was there for July 4th. He was out there on the Gulf off the coast, right by an island off of Mississippi. And they had taken a pontoon boat, him and 3 other individuals, down to this little island where everybody was getting together for the 4th of July festive. And this was in the daytime. They got out there 10:30 in 11 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in there. And they were out there. And there was a lot of alcohol there. I'm shifting over to this now because I wanted to cover. I had a few notes I just wanted to go ahead and read off. So this case with Nolan Xavier Wells, who became unalive, he goes down there with his 3 friends. Apparently, during the process, he doesn't come back. At about 4:30, the friends are leaving and want to come back. Okay, the friends are leaving; they want to come back, and apparently, they said that he wanted to stay there. Some have reported that he was talking to a girl and wanted to keep talking to her, and so he said he would catch another boat ride back to the land. Okay. Well said, Holly. Protect and serve, not protect and cover up. Well said. So all of a sudden now, the 3 boys say that absolutely, Oleg, the judge's son is absolutely topic Nolan Wells. So now the 3 boys who are going back, they go ahead and they say to the authorities that he wanted to stay back, that he would catch a boat ride back to shore, to land later, because he was talking to somebody. And so they leave. Okay. Now, these are the things that I find out last night because I had to do a lot more looking into and watching certain things to understand what was really happening. What was really happening. So his best friend sees him out there. He sees him. And his best friend by the name of Javon Williams, his best friend, said there was about 100 people that were out there, including people who lived in that area, right around that area. And Javon Williams said that he got there at about 11 o'clock a.m. He originally was going to go with Nolan and the 3 friends, but there wasn't any room. So he came with some other friends on another boat to the island. This is his best friend, or he calls him his best friend, Javon Williams, young kid, younger than Nolan. And so he said he talked to him, seen him there, and they exchanged a few words, pleasantry words, appreciate you, this, that, and the other, and whatever. They had a very good conversation. But he said that down the road, later on, there was an altercation. There was a video that was put out. Now, law enforcement believes that they watched that video and they believe it was literally Nolan in that heated discussion or whatever you want to call it with another individuals. And they could hear him say, "Give me back my freaking phone." Apparently they had his phone. Somebody had his phone. Okay. And the cops were able to distinguish that that was him. They believed that was him. And he was saying, "Give me back my freaking phone." So that was established. Now you ask the question, well, who had his phone? Why did they have his phone? Who is they that had his phone? Now they haven't come out with that yet. And that's what they're trying to also investigate as to why. Now, when they asked Javon Williams that question, okay, and this was, I think, this was on, I think, TMZ. They asked him the question. He said he couldn't tell if that was him on the video. But the cops looked at that YouTube video, and it's on YouTube. They said it looked like him, and it basically they said it was him. Okay. And that he was asking for his phones, and they're going to look into that. Now, apparently, a lot of people are saying that this friend of his, Javon Williams, was the last person to see him, but he says that he wasn't the last person to see him, and that they were really, really good friends. And he heard about them arguing about his phone. But here's the thing. Law enforcement never talked to one of his best friends, which is Javon Williams. TMZ asked him, did law enforcement come and talk to you about what you knew? And he said, no, they never talked to me, which is kind of odd because you would think they did. He did say that they talked, him and Nolan talked, and yet you would think they would talk to him and ask him, hey, what did you see? What did you not see? Just trying to gather some information. Holly says, and again, no one seen anything. No one left behind. Never have a friend behind, no matter what, without a doubt. Well said, Holly. So it has been said now by Javon Williams, his friend, that law enforcement never talked to him. Now, here's the issue. This is one of the issues that on Good Morning America was brought up because they talked to the mom and the dad of Nolan and their attorney, okay? And the mom and dad said that the mom got a call at 11:30 at night. I believe it was 11:30 at night by someone named, I wrote his name down. I don't know if his last, Warren. Somebody named Warren. I think that's one of the kids that was on the boat with him. I think that's one of the kids that was on the boat with him that went down there. And that this person asked Nolan's mom if she went ahead and Nolan had arrived home yet. No, apparently no. She said, no, he hasn't arrived. And that got her thinking, what the heck's going on? So sometime thereafter, she goes ahead and calls the law enforcement and reports him missing. Okay. She reports her son missing. They sent out a search party and everything. They're looking. They sent the choppers and the boats and everything. And they can't find him. This was on the 4th. On the 6th, they end up finding him. On the 6th, they ended up finding Nolan in the water, right there at the last area he was seen on it live. Now, here's where it gets kind of that I found going through this. Apparently, there was the young lady that he was talking to. She said to the police, this is what she said, and I don't have a name for her, I don't know if it's because she's underage or not, but she said to the police that Nolan told her, the girl he was talking to, that he had to go because his friends were going back and he had to go. So she said that he took off to the boat. The friends tell the police that Nolan never got on the boat, that he wanted to stay back and talk to her. Are you following me? The girl that Nolan was talking to, Nolan tells her, I got to go because my friends are going back to land, to inland, meaning, where the car was parked. His car was parked. And so he had to leave. The girl said he took off to the boat. The three friends that came with Nolan, that brought Nolan there, they said Nolan never got on the boat. They never got on the boat, that he never got on the boat, and they left without him because he wasn't on the boat. And that's a big discrepancy there. Okay? And I don't know how young or old this girl was, and that may be a reason why they're not giving that name. That came out. So you have a conflict of information here, right? You got a conflict of information. You got, on one hand, you got the girl that's talking to Nolan that's saying he took off back to the boat because he said they were going back and he had to go with them because that was basically who he came with. But then when they talked to the boys, they said, oh, no, he never came and got on the boat. So we left. He said he was going to stay there and talk to the girl. I don't know. We don't know that, but that's a big nugget right there. So I'm sure the law enforcement is going to investigate that and find out from the girl that apparently she already told law enforcement that no, he took off. He got on the boat. I watched him. And the boys are now saying he never got on the boat. Now, you had this conflict that happened earlier, a conflict that took place out there where Nolan was upset at somebody, and you could hear him on the video asking for them to give him his freaking phone. He said, what are you doing with my phone? And then he said, give me my freaking phone. And he repeated that, give me my freaking phone. But no one knows, did he ever get his phone back or not? Don't know. April says someone else wanted the girl and he beat them to it. Probably. He was a good kid. He's a good young kid. Everybody liked this kid. It wasn't like, he wasn't a bully or nothing. From everything I've read, everybody liked this kid. They really liked him. So then the question becomes, okay, did he get on the boat or did he not get on the boat? And who was he telling, why are you looking through my phone? Give me my freaking phone. The exact words. And the law enforcement said they watched the YouTube and they can clearly hear him say that. And that they are definitely going to investigate that. Now, here's why it's a big deal. Because when those boys got back, Nolan wasn't with them. But they had his keys. When I say they, one of them had his keys because and I'll explain how I know that. One of them had his keys and his phone with him. And I think it might have been Warren. I'm not for sure on that. But one of those kids, one of those young adults had his phone and his keys. And how we know this is because after Warren calls the mom and tells her if Nolan showed up and she said no, it wasn't too long after that she called a missing persons report. Follow me? She called a missing persons report. Now, after she called the missing persons report, at about sometime that evening or whatever, or later that night or early morning, sometime she got on her phone and started tracking where Nolan's phone was at. And voila, one of the people that was on the boat had his phone. Now, did she try calling it? I don't know, but she has that 360 app where it tells you where the phone's at. So the mom calls her sister, and her sister comes over and tells her. Her sister goes over, not Nolan's sister, the mom's sister, goes over to the house and gets the phone. They bring it back. She gives it to the mom. Her and her mom, the sister and the mom, which would be Nolan's aunt, they go through his phone and they notice that in the Snapchat and Instagram, a lot of videos and a lot of things are deleted from there. And they know their son. They know he had a lot of videos on Snapchat because he was big on that, and Instagram. He always posted stuff that he was doing. And so they noticed, basically, for the most part, a lot of it was already gone, deleted. Who deleted it? So that's another thing law enforcement is going to be looking at. Now they'll be able to get all the stuff that was deleted. They'll be able to pull all that stuff back. They'll call Google and they'll get all that stuff. Just because they deleted it from the phone doesn't mean it's gone. Okay, they'll subpoena and they'll get it if they do the right thing. But here's the thing. They say that everything's pretty much deleted on his phone as far as Instagram and Snapchat. What was on there that whoever deleted it felt it needed to be deleted? You follow me? Now, the other thing is the dad calls one of the kids, or one of the kids somehow the dad gets a hold of one of the kids who supposedly has, it was somebody gave the dad the name of the person who had his keys to his car that was parked at the dock from when they left from the dock to the island. And so the dad goes over there and knocks on the door, and the kid comes on. He says, "Hey, do you have the keys of Nolan's keys to his car?" And the kid said, "No, I don't have it. This is what was said on GMA. You can go watch it." And he says, "I don't have it." So then the dad calls this girl, and tells the girl, "I thought you said he had the keys." And she says, "He does. I was there at his house. The keys are on some council." And then the girl tells him, "I was just there." She calls him and tells him he's lying. This is what the girl says. So the dad goes back and knocks again. And then the kid comes to the door and he says, "Could you look on top of your console? Because I believe the keys are on there." And at that point, the kid walks up there, gets the keys, brings it back, gives him the keys, and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I had them." The dad goes to the where the car was parked, picks up Nolan's car, and takes it home. Doesn't it seem kind of odd to you? Holly, maybe he jumped off her boat and tried to swim back to the friend's boat, but never made it back, and was drinking, and it was a dark, bad combo. That's possible, Holly. That's a very good point. It's very possible. Annie, sorry, prayers, bunch of jealous punks. April, Annie, yep. That's what I think too. Annie, how you don't have the keys? Exactly. Because the girl that went over to that boy's home was there and saw his keys, saw their friend's keys, Nolan's keys there. That's who called the dad and said, he has the keys. So the dad went there, and at that point, the kid says, I don't have his keys. And so the dad said, oh, okay. And so the dad, kind of puzzled, calls the girl back that talked to him, not the girl that was at the party, another girl, calls her and says, hey, I thought you said he had the keys. And she goes, he does. He's lying to you. The keys are on his console. I was in his room. I was with him. And so then the dad goes back and tells him, now this is all what's being recorded, documented, or whatever. And at that point, the kid goes back upstairs, goes by his console, comes back, gives him the keys, and tells him, I'm sorry, I didn't know I had the keys. So that's a red flag. So they had his phone and they had his keys. But then you have to ask yourself the question. When they were at the island and Nolan was asking or telling the other person, what are you doing with my phone? Give me my freaking phone. You would think that he would have got his phone there, right? So how did the friends end up with his phone and his keys? Keys is probably logical. The keys were in the boat, so he wouldn't lose them. I could see that. I could see how the keys could have been left on the boat because he doesn't want to lose his keys in the water. But why would they have his phone? Is the question I'm asking. Why would they have his phone? Now, this was all on TMZ and this was all on GMA. So you can look it up and then Google up the information. How did they end up with this phone? Because the last the officers heard was that video on YouTube stating him saying, give me my freaking keys. What are you doing with my phone? Give me my freaking keys. How did they end up with the phone? Did they not ever give it back to him? Was there an altercation, a fight? Did something happen? You follow me? It doesn't make sense, does it? And then on top of that, you ask the question, well, you say, well, his phone could have fell out of his pocket. He could have got it back and then it fell out of his pocket and the friends found it. It's possible. Did they find it in the water? Did they even find it at all? Why would the girl he was talking to say, I saw him get on the boat. He went back. He had to leave because his friends were leaving. I saw him get on the boat. Now, maybe she saw him walk to the boat, but maybe she didn't see him get on the boat. It's possible. They were all drinking. Then the question becomes, did they really see him get on the boat? Or did she say he walked towards the boat? But the boys say, no, he never got on the boat, so we left. Well, then how did they end up with his phone and his keys? The keys I could see, leaving it in the compartment in the boat so that way he didn't lose them. But the phone, that phone should have been with him because he was out in the water earlier during that time when he was asking for his freaking phone. You follow me? Holly says, nope. You know you have the keys and the phone. No other boaters were in the area. Strange again. Annie says, Marianne, liars. Marianne, liar, pants on fire. April, the keys were in another home and denied to the parents. He was asking for his phone and video, on video. Not even a mystery there. So the family wants the facts. They want the facts. They want to know what the hell happened to their 18-year-old, very well-liked individual. According to many people, very well-liked. Young, happy kid. This kid also is a kid who had prospects playing college football. He had a scholarship, he had everything lined up, the whole 9 yards. He wasn't really big. He was about, I think they said like 6'1", 180 pounds. But he was basically going to play college football. They had the phone to delete whatever he filmed while on the boat, maybe the argument. So then the family goes ahead and gets an attorney. And they get a well-known attorney. And that attorney is saying it doesn't make sense what they're saying, the contradictions. Now, when I looked at certain things up, there was a part in there where it said that the officers were saying, young lady made a statement that Nolan and her got done talking, and Nolan said he was getting on the boat with his friends to go back. The young lady said he got on the boat. The friends stated Nolan was staying there to talk to the girl and never came on the boat. So the question becomes, who's lying? At this point, there is no public explanation why his friends had his phone and her keys. That law enforcement was investigating that to figure out. So according to the investigators, this is one of the several issues and questions that the investigators have. They are examining, but they are conflicting accounts that and may have not been verified. Oh, details. Many details have not been verified. So the cops are even saying, this is what they're saying. This is what they're saying. But we can't give a clear answer because there's a lot of conflicting details. You think? So what ends up happening is one of the kids' mother is a judge. One of the kids' mother is a judge in Jackson, Mississippi. Okay? To boot. Now, here's the kicker. All three of those kids get an attorney. They all get an attorney. The kids, the young kids that were with Nolan, they get an attorney. Now, for people to say, and I'm throwing this out there, okay? If people was to say, well, he got an attorney, why can't we get an attorney to defend ourselves? Well, the problem is that the parents got an attorney to find out what happened to their deceased son. The kids got an attorney to what? To what happened to the deceased son? No. The kids got an attorney. They all lawyered up for what? To help find Nolan? That don't make sense. So why did the young adults that were with Nolan, who were supposed to be his friends, why did they get an attorney? Anybody got any thoughts? April, Holly, and Annie, great points. Annie, yeah, April, people do that kind of shit. Holly, how supplies the alcohol? He was 18. They would be negligent for supplying to minor. Bible, every time I hear that of the parents is a judge, I think about the Natalie Holloway case. Suspect's dad was a judge. Annie, defending themselves. Why would three friends who just lost their close friend get lawyered up? Why would they lawyer up? Now, the parents got an attorney because they want to know, they feel something's not right here. Something's wrong. They're hearing the word from the girl saying, I talked to him and we were done talking, and he said he had to go, and I saw him run to the boat and get on the boat. The boys are saying this was at 4:30 p.m. The boys are saying he never got on our boat, and so we left. So what really happened? See, this is why law enforcement is having this investigation, trying to figure out that don't make sense. There's too many contradicting moving parts. Annie defending themselves. Annie, Bible, I've been thinking the same thing the whole time. April, does the girl that was with have an attorney? No, they don't. I don't think so. They don't say anything about the girl having an attorney. Just the three friends of his that he came with that took him to the island for the 4th of July. Supplying a minor would make the person negligent. And then you ask the question, well, who in the hell bought the alcohol? Because they were all underage. And in Mississippi, we find out that you have to be 21 years of age to buy alcohol. So who bought the alcohol? Somebody had to buy it. Who bought the alcohol? Because according to some of the reports, they all had been drinking. Possible, Marianne. I did that back in the day when I was a kid, fake ID. And I knew friends of mine that used to have a fake ID. I get that. No doubt about it. Well said. But who bought it? Who went and bought it? They were all underage. Some say the boat belonged to someone of a friend. Some say the boat was rented. Not sure which one is accurate, but some did say the boat was rented, and then some say no, the boat belonged to a friend that they used to go out there. And when they used that boat to go out there, that's where he parked his car. Nolan. Hang on, everybody. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Yep. Bye. Love you. So, who was it? See, there is a lot of information. And in Jackson, there's a lot of information, and they just want to make sure the family that they get to know exactly what happened to their son. Now, it is also said, and I get it, when you're drinking, you're not at your best, but they did say that Nolan knew how to swim. He had taken swimming lessons. He knew how to swim. So it wasn't that he couldn't swim. Throw that caveat in there. Holly, why would you take the phone then if you left him? That's crazy. You would at least make sure he had his phone just in case, without a doubt. Well said, Holly. Spot on. April, why I asked is the owner of the boat could have supplied the alcohol. Very good point. Very good point. April, was the boat owner rented? You see what I'm saying here? So finding out literally, and law enforcement stating that, hey, there's too many conflicting questions here, answers, that's why they have to look into it deeper. That's what they're saying, which I get. I understand that. I've been a cop. Sometimes things are very confusing because people are saying different things. But he was saw on video by the cops on YouTube, and you can find that video still there. Him yelling, stating, "What are you doing with my phone? Give me my freaking phone back." And then at the end of the day, when the boat goes back, his friends are the ones that has his keys and has his phone. No one is coming out and saying who bought the alcohol. Could have been anybody. Hell, could have been anybody. It could have been any one of the kids' parents. It could have been anybody. But the thing that also gets me is that all three friends lawyered up. Why? Why? Well, they're going to try to blame us. Well, if you did nothing wrong, how can they blame you? Well, they're going to still try to make it look like we did it. Did what? What did you do? Well, they're going to make it seem like it was us. How? If you didn't do nothing, you just left. He wasn't on the boat, so it's not on you. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Well, we just want to protect ourselves and make sure that we have representation. Because of what? You didn't do anything, is what you're saying. You just left. Well, because we had the phone and we had the keys there on the boat, and it looks like we might have did something. Well, why did you have his phone? And why did you have his keys? Well, that's why we're getting an attorney. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? Anything they say when that's their close friend, one of their close friends, all three of them are good friends. Why would they say that? April Nolan Wells is a topic. April, if you want to look him up. Holly, kids nowadays are attached to that phone. Sounds like they're trying to hide something. Marianne, definitely Holly. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? It makes no sense. The reason the parents are getting an attorney is because they want the facts what happened to their son. Their son is no longer alive. The other three individuals who were friends with their son, they lawyered up. Why? There's really nothing you can really say to justify why would you lawyer. I mean, that's fine. You want to lawyer up, but why would you lawyer up? The only reason I would get a lawyer is if I didn't want to say or answer any questions. My lawyer will tell me. But why wouldn't you want to help figure out what happened to your friend? Is my question. Did the boat launch have cameras to see them coming and going? I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. But and remember, they did come back. The boat with the friends did come back at approximately, I think they left at 4:30 is what they said. So they did come back. I would think it's still daylight, 4:30 p.m. But why would the young men get lawyered up? And who told them to get lawyered up? Now, I heard some speculation about who the boat belonged to, and I'm not going to say because I'm not going to paint a picture that I don't have the facts to. And that they were out there early cleaning the boat out. I'm not going to even say that either, as far as who owned the boat. But my point still goes back to why did they have the phone? Now, here's my thinking, okay? This is just my thinking. Gene is going to catch up with them without a doubt, Gene. Thank you for being here. But here's what I'm thinking, okay? So they go. This kid knows how to swim. Now, granted, when you're drinking, you kind of lose all sense of how to do anything, right? But here's my thinking. When the boy, and I'm just going to say his name for the better lack of words, I don't know if it's him or not. I'm just going to assume it's him because that's what the mom said. When the boy Warren called her and asked if her son was there, her son got back and she said no. Okay. Why at that point did that boy not say, "Oh, Mrs. Wells, just want to let you know we have, in case you're looking for him, we have his keys and his cell phone with us. So if just in case you're looking for it, we do have that if you want to pick those up." Why not say that? Seriously, why not say that? Hey, Mrs. Wells, just letting you know, he didn't come back. No, he hasn't come back yet. He was with you guys. Okay. Well, just to let you know, we have his phone and his car keys. So if you want to pick those up, you're more than welcome to. We have them here. How did you get them? Why do you have them? Does that make sense to anybody? Dee Dee, you're very welcome. Thank you, Gene. Appreciate you. April, where was he found? How close to the boat? Apparently, there's where was he found? How so apparently they said he was found in the same area where he was at all along, but that the body apparently didn't drift back, almost like it was they were saying that the body had like went around floating and then eventually came back to that same area where he was at. That's what I heard. That's what I read. I don't know how true it is, but that's what I read. Like it was found on the, not take it back. It was found on the, that it had floated and was found, I want to say, the northeast corner of the northeast something. I'm going to say the corner of the island. I read that. I did read that. No, I want to say it was the northeast or the northwest corner of the island. That's what I've read. It was one of those two spots. The lawyered up because they were with him. They have a feeling they are going to get questioned. They are going to question them. But here's the thing, he's your friend. You would want to find your friend. I mean, what could they ask you that you would need a lawyer to tell you if you need to answer that or not? So, can you tell me how you guys ended up with the phone and or his keys? Well, officer, the keys were on the boat, so we had that. Okay, how did you guys get a hold of his phone? Let me ask that again. How did you guys get a hold of his phone? Well, it fell out of his pocket, so we picked it up. Did he was in an altercation with someone asking something about a phone? Why are you going through my phone? Why are you looking at my phone? Give me my freaking phone back. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, not really sure, vaguely, but I think I heard him say that. Okay. Did he ever get his phone back? I have no idea, officer. But how did you end up with it? Let me ask you again. How did you end up with it? Oh, well, we found it. Do you see how that sounds? Do you see how that sounds? I will snitch if there was any wrongdoing because you whoever want to save themselves seen him with the girl and got pissed. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking, April. There was a little bit of jealousy going on. The kid was well liked by a lot of people. A lot of people. Very good looking young man, happy, seemed to be very happy. According to his mom, he was just a happy kid, bright light kid. One of those kids that you see, he just has that immaculate smile, kind of like me, that just, really good personality, good kid, very humble. Even as a football player, very humble. As his dad would put it, he was like one of those leaders, but he was one of those quiet leaders. So now you ask the question, why did you have the phone? Why would you need an attorney? Well, I don't want them to trap me. Well, how are they going to trap you? They only trap you is if you lie. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you from an officer's perspective. When was the search started after the mother reported missing? I think it started right away after she reported it. So I want to say she called the police when he didn't come that about 12:30 or maybe even 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when he wasn't home. It was somewhere in there. I don't have the specific time, but I know it was stated. I want to say it was like 12:30 when he didn't come home by 12:30. She called the police. You'll have to look at that and verify that, but I think it was 12:30 that she called for her son being missing, and they started at that point. They called out the search parties. I think they even called out EquiSearch. No, not EquiSearch. Cajun Navy. They called out everybody, and they didn't find him right away in the fifth. But on the sixth, they ended up finding him floating in the water on I think it was the northeast or northwest side corner of the island that his body drifted that far. Bible says lowering up does not make them look good at all. Well agreed, my friend. Well agreed. Look, we don't have all the information. We don't even have half of the information. We probably have enough to kind of get an idea of where this is headed and probably maybe even why. And I kind of like April's idea. They were jealous. He was talking to this pretty girl and they were jealous. No doubt about it. And I say pretty. I don't know what she looked like, but I'll just say they were jealous. I think April's spot on. What I don't understand is how did they end up with their phone? And it's not just me, it's the investigators because they're saying there's been a lot of contradictory comments that were made. Well, the contradictory comments can't come from the mom, right? And the contradictions can't come from the dad because they weren't there. So that leaves Nolan. Well, the contradictories can't come from Nolan because Nolan's unalive. So then who is the contradictory information coming from? Well, you only have the people that were there at the party. There was over 100 people there, and the people that lived close by there. You had the girl he was talking to and the three friends that brought him there. And the other friend that was there already with someone that he had came on another boat, the Javon Williams. And when TMZ asked Javon Williams, they said, we understand Mississippi, understand the rhetoric here, how things go. Do you think this was something possibly racial? And Javon Williams, who is also African American, said, no, I don't think so. I'm not going to answer that question, but I don't think so. He said, it's kind of like out here, it's expected, it's normal. Black people have white friends and so forth and so forth. But he said, I don't like answering that question, but he said, I don't think so. So he was dismissing that as well. So really, what really was the motive? Did he end up getting on the boat? There was an altercation and they threw him off the boat, or someone punched him or shoved him and he went off the boat. And they just like, I don't know. I don't know. That's an opinion. That's a thought. That's just a thought. I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying, is it possible? Because he did know how to swim, but he also had been drinking with the others. Holly, I think the time the other kids left was odd. It's the fourth on the water and you leave before fireworks. That's what I was thinking as well. Well said, Holly. So I thought, well, what's the whole point of going for a festivities at 4 o'clock if you're if you got there at like 11:30, 11 o'clock, and you're leaving at 4:30 before the fireworks even happened. So I'm thinking maybe there was an altercation and they just wanted to get the hell out of there and leave, and then everything went south. Possible. I don't know. I would definitely think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I'm not saying who's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying who's responsible. I'm not even saying who I would blame because I don't have all the information. But I will say this is definitely suspicious. In my opinion, as an officer, I would say this is suspicious to me. You know, this is very suspicious. And the idea that there's going to be so many contradicting things, well, that in itself makes no sense. April says, did he know the girl that he went to talk to? I don't know. They never said. I think she was just somebody that was on the island at the time. I'm assuming that's what it was because none of his friends ever said, "Oh yeah, she went to talk to Susie or Margaret or Mary or whatever." No one ever said her name. They just said he was talking to this girl. So I'm going to say probably not. Just somebody he met out there drinking a beer, talking, BSing with people. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? And try to throw his little charm out there, and maybe that ticked off somebody. I don't know, but it doesn't appear that they knew who the girl was. But the girl stated to the police that that's what she saw. She stated she saw him walk. He said he had to leave because his friends were leaving. She saw him walk towards the boat and get on the boat. I just read that to you. That's what she said, according to what I read, in my opinion. Wow, even stranger not to know her exactly. Mama Judge did the advising of lawyers. I could see that. I could see that. Excuse me. KB says, if I was law enforcement, would look at TikTok to see what happened. Kids record everything. No doubt. April, another question. Where's the other girls? Where were the other girls on the boat? There was no other girls on the boat. It was just those four guys that came on that boat. If that's what you're asking, they came on that boat. He came with their friends. There were no other girls on that boat that he came on with. And like every other case, we cover everybody's case here that we can. And I thought this was a good case to look into. Wow, setup maybe. It's possible. It's very possible. Click that like, everybody. Click the like. Share it to your stream. Get with your friends, everybody. And here's the interesting thing. When I read this part, I was kind of like, this is what also took me back. According to the investigators, this is one of the several issues and questions that investigators are examining, but they are many conflicting accounts and many details have not been verified, which tells me there's a lot of things that don't make sense. That's what it tells me in layman's terms. Things don't make sense. See, that's why I look at this and I say to myself, why do you lawyer up? I mean, if somebody was like, like pew pewed on the boat and you didn't do it, hell yeah, I'm getting my lawyer. I didn't know nothing about this. I didn't had nothing to do with this. But if nothing you did was wrong, why do you lawyer up? Holly, they need to question the owner of the boat, just like your home. Something happens and you are responsible. They were minors and you turned them loose with a boat at 18. Good point, Holly. Good point. Marianne, another case that things don't add up. Well, all right, everybody. Awesome stream. Awesome stream. Now, just let you guys know, I am going to a reunion, family reunion, and I'm getting ready to leave here probably at about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I'm not going to obviously stay long, so I'm going to tell you I'm probably going to go live at 5 because I'm not going to stay there that long. Only not because I just never stay long on these things, but I am planning to come back at 5 to do another live. So I'll see you guys here at 5. If for some reason I don't get here at exactly 5, then you'll understand what happened. But I just wanted to give you guys the update. Make sure you share the lives, everybody. Look, we are growing. We are now up to 2,305 subscribers. 2,305 subscribers. We only been at this for 3 months, literally. Maybe 2.5. Maybe 2.5 to 3 months, literally. That's it. I would say more like 2.5 months. We are already up to 2,305 subscribers. We're climbing. We are climbing. We're getting subscribers every day. Thank you so much, Bible. We're getting subscribers every day. Some days are better than others. Some days we'll get 3, 4 subscribers. Some days we'll get 10, 12 subscribers. Some days we'll get, whatever. I mean, and then some days we'll get 1 or 2. Thank you, Barney. Thank you so much. So we are getting subscribers. People are coming in. You're very welcome, Gene. Thank you for being here. We're getting subscribers that are coming in. Our base is solid and growing, but it's going to take you guys to continue to make it happen because you guys are the mouthpieces, everybody. I can only give you the story, but you guys are the ones that push that narrative out there so that we can continue to grow. And I'm a firm believer, the more people we have, the more we're going to grow. We're going to grow with more people. And the reason we're going to grow is because when we grow and we become bigger, then we hear more opinions and more thoughts and more concepts. And we can learn from one another by listening to other people's ideas and why they're thinking what they're thinking. It's a big win-win all the way around. So please share this stream to your people. Share it when you're on other people's streams. Share it when you can, because we are growing. I am proud of what we have built so far in 2.5 to 3 months. I would say 2.5 months, we're already at 2,305 subscribers. The goal is 5,000. And I think Oleg or somebody brought that up the other day. So let's get on it. Let's not let off. And let's bring people in so that we can learn from everybody. With that, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you. Always support the channel. And I love that we don't have no drama, because that's what a lot of people want. They want to be able for their opinions to be heard. They want to be able for someone to answer their question, and they want no drama. And I'll just be honest, there's a lot of dramas on a lot of stations. People don't like that. They just want to come in, have a conversation, ask what they're asking, and try to figure it out. And the only benefit that I will say you all have, I've been in law enforcement. I do get it. I do understand a lot of these dynamics of these cases. So that's a win-win for you all. So with that, everybody, God bless you. Thank you. And just for the fact, there is other people that have been in law enforcement as well, and I'm sure they feel the same way. So God bless you all. Appreciate you all. I'm going to do my best to be here at 5 for another story, another case. But spread the word. We got to grow more. Spread the word, everybody. And help the channel if you can. If you want to support the channel financially or with memberships, buying memberships for others who are maybe struggling or whatever. You don't have to, but it could help the channel grow, and it would help the channel grow. So if you want to do stuff like that, more power to it. It's not required. It's not required at all. Just having you guys here is awesome. But it does help the channel. So there's many ways to help. Do your part, I'll do mine, and together we'll make this channel a damn good channel. With that, God bless you all. Semper Fi. Thank you for all the hearts, loves, and everything. And thank you so much for wishing me a good time at the reunion. I don't spend a lot of time on our reunions because I just don't. It's not because I love my family, love them to death. I love seeing them, but it's not one of these things where I'm going to spend the whole day there because my body just, not doing it. So I'm going to be back at 5, I hope. Please be ready to go, and let's think outside that box. I'll try to figure out some things and figure out what we can talk about. All right? God bless you all. Remember, it's all common sense, everybody. You guys, it's all common sense, and you guys have it. You know why I know you have it? Because of the questions you guys ask. The questions you guys ask outside the box. You guys have common sense. You may not know how the law enforcement navigates, but you understand common sense, and all law enforcement does is navigate you right to where you're talking about. So I enjoy all of you. I thank you. You guys are amazing. We are strong as numbers, as Barney says. Appreciate all of you. God bless, Semper Fi, and have a great day. It's all common sense, everybody. Remember that. God bless. Semper Fi.